Hello, 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 and welcome to Starting the Day the Right Way 5-minute devotion for May 11th, 2021. All right, so we're going to hop right into it. So recently, I discovered over the last few weeks or so that my son was doing a couple of things one way when my expectation was that he was doing it another way. And when I discovered that he was doing it his way, I inquired him, like, why are you doing it this way? And he's like, well, this is what I thought. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks that I never actually showed him what to do. I verbalized it to him, but I never showed it to him. And then once I showed it to him, he got it, and we've never had a problem or an issue with it again. But it made me double back and think that, in some areas he's smart, and in other areas he was acting not like he was in the smart areas. And so I'm like, what's going on? And it was that I didn't actually model it for him and show him how to do these particular things that I was expecting him to do. But we got it straightened out. That led me to this verse here in John chapter 8. And it's a well-known verse. It's the woman caught in adultery. And so the New Living Translation puts it this way. Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him, but Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. Jesus is awesome. I just love the way he acted whenever the Pharisees were trying to get him. Verse 7 says, they kept demanding an answer, and so he stood up again. And he goes, all right. So I got to imagine at this time, the Pharisees got really excited, and they were like, finally, we got something, right? And then Jesus goes, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. And then immediately dropped back down to his knees and started writing on the ground again. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. All right, there is a lot happening here, right? So we got three groups of people, right? We have the crowd, right? We have the Pharisees, and we have the woman. Now, the crowd can be represented in a couple of different ways. They could have been just looking on and being part of the Pharisees, right? Scripture really doesn't tell us that. But they were also there willing to listen to what Jesus was saying. So they were in a learning mode. So Jesus was talking and teaching, and then this incident occurred. So they may have been expecting another lesson from Jesus, just because the incredible amount of wisdom that whenever Jesus spoke, things were changed, lives were changed, right? So there could have been an expectation here. Then you have the Pharisees, right, who were always accusatory, always looking to catch people in the act. They had religious spirits within them. They were not pure of heart, to put it simple, right? They wanted to do things their way. They claimed to be doing things God's way, but they were not. They were doing things man way, evil way, right? So that was the second group of crowd. And then, of course, we have the woman caught in adultery, who, being caught in the act of adultery, was sinning, obviously. So, which could be any one of us at any point in time, right? Whenever we sin, and if at that moment, Jesus were to return at that moment, is that the moment you would want to be caught up in, right? So those are the three different groups that we got going on here. But Jesus agreed with them originally, right? He said, all right, no problem. Go ahead. Throw throw that first stone. But what happened? Then he said, whoever has never sinned. And depending upon the research that you do, some say he was writing the actual names of sins in the dirt. Some say he was writing names of people in the dirt. Others say that he was writing the sins next to the names of the people in the dirt. Now, can you imagine if that's the scenario and you're on the side of the Pharisees and you're there wanting to stone this woman and your name gets written down there? Whatever, Johnny drunkard, right? Or Samantha shopaholic, or Jonathan, drug user. You name it. Can you imagine? Can you place yourself in that situation with Jesus writing your sin in front of the whole crowd next to your name for all to see? And the reason why the oldest walked away first was they were supposed to be the wisest. They were supposed to have the most experience. But, obviously they thought they could catch Jesus, but they didn't. Okay. So, and then finally we have the lady who was actually caught in the act of adultery, the actual breaking of the commandment, right? And what did Jesus say? I don't condemn you. I don't condemn you anymore. But he didn't leave her that. And quite often I notice that people forget this. Jesus said, go and sin no more. So Jesus isn't just going to leave us the way we are. He's going to transform us. He's going to change us. Okay. So Jesus didn't agree with the lifestyle that she was in. Jesus didn't agree what sin she had done. He said, I'm not condemning you. I forgive you, but don't sin anymore. Don't go back to that old way of life. Don't keep doing what you're doing. When you have an encounter with Jesus, it is impossible to change, not to be changed. Jesus is going to transform you. He's going to change you. Okay. Now, whether you continue down that path and continue seeking Jesus, that's a different story. Right? If you continue down that path, you're going to be continually transformed and challenged and molded and shaped into Jesus. Right? And if you want to choose to walk away, well, then you walk away. Right? But Jesus doesn't leave us there. Okay? And he modeled this. This is what he modeled. He modeled forgiveness. He modeled compassion. He modeled understanding of the law. Right? Obviously, he was God, but still. Okay? But he will not leave us where we're at. So he modeled things for us. So in this time where we are currently here in the United States, where people are on edge, and now I'm in South Carolina, so now we're on the brink of gas shortages, and we can see it at all the gas stations. People are on edge again and snapping, right, over silly things. In the end, silly things, right? Take a breath. Let's focus. Let's follow the one that we're claiming to be following and what he modeled. All right. I hope this was a blessing to you. I overran a little bit longer than I normally do, but I haven't been on in about a week. So we'll be back, and God bless.